Good day, everyone. This is your guidance facilitator speaking to you today about single tasking. Not multitasking, single tasking. It is the great method not only to increase your productivity, it will also improve your relationships, your self awareness, and overall happiness and fulfillment. Now, before we proceed, I would like to give credit where it's due. This is the author Deborah Zack and her book on single tasking. So, if you guys would like to read on this, I highly recommend getting a copy of the book. Okay, now who among you are guilty of multitasking? To be fair, multitasking has been around for a while, quite ingrained in our minds. But does multitasking make you even more efficient? Do we even multitask in the first place? Concept number one: multitasking isn't the answer to a hectic life. Quite the contrary, it can even be fatal. Now, that is such a bold claim, but think about it. In the US, the second leading cause of car accidents is distracted driving, such as driving while texting or talking on the phone after driving under the influence. The data from the American Automobile Association discovered that 67% of all American drivers uses their phones while behind the wheel. As a result, tens of thousands of people are dying as an immediate consequence of people trying to pay attention to too many things at once. Does that sound like someone trying to multitask? Indeed, not only is multitasking dangerous, it also won't make you more productive. In fact, there's really no such thing as multitasking, per se. As Stanford University neuroscientist Dr. A.L. Ophir has shown in his studies, our brain is simply incapable of focusing on multiple things simultaneously. Think about it. When you try to multitask, do you think of two or more things at the same time? No, you actually don't. Your brain switches focus from one thought to the other. When your brain has to make the switch, your performance suffers, causing you to work less efficiently on the task you're currently focused on. Who among you studied for the last exam whilst eating or snacking? When did you realize that you would rather eat than to study? Or that your time was mostly consumed by eating and you felt like you never studied at all? Went to grab more food and said bahala na. Divided attention makes it more difficult for you to handle incoming data, as it hinders the information processing in your short and long term memory. It was demonstrated in the Harvard study conducted in 2011, which examined the relationship between multitasking and academic performance. The study revealed that our cognitive functions, especially in our memory, become increasingly limited while multitasking. So, pro tip: multitasking isn't the answer to a hectic life. Concept number two: our brains did not evolve to multitask. Our ancestors had to be alert and aware, not lost in thought, when searching for food. After all, it's hard to see a saber-toothed tiger lurking in the bushes when your head's in the clouds. Not only is it contrary to our evolutionary programming, multitasking can also damage the brain. When you multitask too much, constant overstimulation and the stress associated with it cause the gray matter of your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thinking, to shrink. Furthermore, when you try to do a bunch of things at once, like finishing your homework, talking to your friend on the phone, and watching the news while, let's say, eating ice cream, your brain releases a stress hormone called cortisol. This hormone reduces your ability to effectively complete any of those tasks and further degenerates the hardworking neurons in your brain. So, this furthers the idea that multitasking is bad while single tasking should be good, right? What does single tasking do for you, anyways? Single tasking empowers you to achieve world class performance. Only when you are fully absorbed in the task at hand can you enter what the world-renowned psychologist, now forgive me if I mispronounce, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, calls the flow state, or a zone of complete immersion and focus. It was this flow state that American soccer goalkeeper Tim Howard experienced during the 2014 game between the United States and Belgium. Although his team lost, Howard played an astonishing game with a record-breaking 16 saves. When asked about his incredible focus, Howard said that once the whistle blows, everything else disappears. Nothing else mattered and he focused all his attention on the single important task in front of him. You've seen how bad multitasking is for your health and productivity. But is there anything you can do to fight the urge to multitask? Take control by developing an awareness of when your mind wanders and by eliminating distractions. When was the last time that you gave your teacher so sorry? When was the last time that you gave your teacher your full attention? Or even right now watching this presentation, are you tuning in or are you multitasking? Multitasking does not necessarily mean a conscious effort to engage in numerous activities at the same time. It could be as simple as thinking about things other than the immediate task at hand. Thoughts will creep into your mind, that's natural. The trick is to prioritize what is most important in any particular situation and commit fully to that activity, guiding yourself back into focus when your mind wanders. While you're trying to focus on something important, you may find it difficult to stop thinking about other things. For example, you might worry about what are you going to eat for lunch, or a sudden thought of frustration brought about by the upcoming schoolworks. That's okay. Just come back to the task at hand and focus on it. When you feel like your head's about to explode from all that focusing, take a short walk outside or take a break to meditate. Just as important as maintaining focus is fending off potential distractions. There are so many things in our lives that just beg for our attention. Maybe much like that other tab that you have currently while listening in. Is it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram? Or maybe it's the notifications on your phone that you would rather read right now. Distractions are very much part of our lives. You may have to get creative to prevent these distractions from grabbing your attention. Try putting your phone on airplane mode when studying, or put a sign on your door that says "Do not disturb." Or try using focusing apps that lets you get a sense of awareness that, oh, I should prioritize my task first. I cannot use my phone. What are the techniques to help you single task? So the author stated two methods that will help you actively single task. Get through your stressful day by implementing simple hacks and techniques which help you single task. One technique is called the cluster tasking technique, which combines similar activities and tasks into a single group in order to help you more effectively work. To do this effectively, you must first identify which tasks require similar methods to complete, and then group them together. Then it's simply a matter of setting a time frame for each cluster, deciding how you want to spread them throughout your schedule, and completing the task. For example, you have certain tasks for school and then you have certain tasks for your home. You can block a time to focus solely on your school task and then allot a different time for your house chores, and then sort them based to the similarity of tasks and then plow through them until you finish most of your tasks. Another technique that will help you be more effective is one commonly used by doctors around the world. It's called built-in flexibility in your schedule. Ever wonder why it takes so long for you to be able to get an appointment at the doctor's, but when it's an emergency case, there is always an available one? This is because physicians usually have a two free 30-minute periods during the day dedicated to medical emergencies that would otherwise put them behind schedule. If you plan a bunch of tasks one after the other, sooner or later you'll fall behind schedule. But if you build a buffer into your schedule, any sudden important task won't disrupt your routine, making it possible for you to single task more efficiently. These techniques are great for improving your productivity. Single tasking is the only way to give people your full attention. So you would think that single tasking is solely for getting your work done and outputs right out of the door. It can also be used within the context of relationships. It's not just a time management thing, it's a life management thing. Sometimes when you're having a conversation with someone, it seems as if they're not really paying attention and their thoughts are somewhere else. It never feels good to be in that position. It's uncomfortable and it makes you feel less valued. You don't want to be that person, and single tasking can help. Not only does single tasking improve your productivity at work, it also helps you further develop your social skills, empowering you to develop better, deeper connections with people in your life. We can see evidence of this in a study conducted at the University of Southern California, in which high level executives were interviewed about their perception of the use of smartphones in formal settings. The interviewee said that someone who was constantly fiddling with their phones signals them that they lack attention, respect, and self control, thus causing their view of them as a person to depreciate overall. So, whether you're playing on your phone during a video call or replying to text messages during a conversation, this kind of distracted behavior will be viewed as inappropriate and disrespectful. Active listening, on the other hand, is a sign of respect, as you demonstrate to your conversation partner that you both value them and the conversation that you're having. Look at an interaction between one of the author's clients and former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. The author's client can still vividly remember meeting Kissinger even after 30 years. During their conversation, Kissinger gave him his complete and undivided attention, despite the fact that thousands of others were waiting to hear him speak. Kissinger even steadily kept eye contact throughout and took a real interest in what he had to say, even though he didn't have to. This short encounter left a lasting impression, one that we should all try to emulate. Free time will rejuvenate you and improve your quality of life. Single tasking is the most single tasking, I'm so sorry. Single tasking is most effective when combined with regular breaks. The type and length of these breaks will differ depending on the type of task you do. For example, during your asynchronous time, when every now and then try to stretch or stand up and walk around and not think about the task on hand. You want to give your brain some time to calm down and replenish its energy. But you shouldn't take breaks from actual work. Let me say that again. But you shouldn't just take breaks from actual work. It's also a good idea to take a break from the stress that comes from being available all the time. Start slow and unplug for just an hour a week and use that time as a period of personal reflection. It's important to take some time off as we tend to avoid thinking about what's happening in our lives when we multitask. As Dr. Ethan Cross from the University of Michigan has pointed out, while we're very good at giving our friends advice and helping them through their problems, we usually fail when it comes to our own issues. This is due to the numerous egocentric biases that skew our self image and make it difficult to change our behavior. A scattered mind prevents you from digging deep and gaining a nuanced and balanced view of the issues you face. It's therefore essential to take the time for self reflection without the distractions of outside influences. Remember, it's not unproductive to set aside some time solely for the purpose of reflection or, well, I guess, self care. Who knows, maybe you'll even have the aha moment and find the solution to something that has been bothering you for a while. Single tasking helps you become immersed in the moment, leading to a happier and more balanced life. In a recent Harvard study involving over 2,000 participants, researchers found people are much happier when they're highly engaged in a single task. The study also showed that people who tend to have a small attention span and are easily distracted are inclined to be less happy. When it comes to overall happiness, the ability to immerse oneself in solely in the moment is a good indicator of a fulfilled life. If you ever feel like you're having difficulty single tasking, you can find inspiration in looking at the way young children go through life with the lightness and fascination for the things around them. Joshua Bell, who numbers among the most respected violinists in the world, once took part in an experiment in which he dressed as a busker and played six-pack pieces in a Washington, D.C. subway station. During that 45 minutes he was there, only a few people decided to stop and listen. Most were too busy looking at their phones. During the experiment, he made $32 in donation. To put this into perspective, he usually earns tens of thousands of dollars for his performances. But there was one group of people who frequently stopped to listen to his beautiful music, and those are kids. Young children never multitask. They still have the joy and wonder which most of us have unfortunately lost. So follow their lead and go through your life with both eyes open. As a summary, contrary to popular belief, the key to being more productive is not filling your schedule and tackling everything at once. Rather, you should single task or prioritize your tasks and work through them one at a time with focus and tranquility. Some advice to help you single task: cut the fat from your everyday tasks. Scan your task before doing anything else in order to figure out what's really essential. Make a list that outlines these crucial few tasks, along with the many other trivial things you have to take care of. By cutting the fat and focusing on what's really important first, you can increase the quality of your work. Thank you for listening in to this presentation, and I hope you learned something. See you in the next soft skills webinar. Once again, thank you, stay safe, and God bless.